Hello, welcome. I'm Pauline from Pauline's Quilters World, and I'm here to show you some great things for Christmas. So in this lesson, we're going to make the tree skirt. So it's a very, very simple tree skirt. Can be made from your scraps of fabric from your stash, or I really strongly recommend a gorgeous jelly roll pack. This is just a beautiful, beautiful pack of different Christmas colours that would really look spectacular in your tree skirt. But you know, you might not want to make it out of the traditional green and red. You might want to do purples or blues. It really doesn't matter. You just decorate to whatever's going to suit your Christmas theme for this year. But you will get a pattern piece. Now, this is all a Quilt As You Go project, so it's going to be very, very simple to make. You'll get the pattern piece. This is half of the piece, so you're going to place this piece on the fold. You'll cut 6 backing and 6 pieces of batting with the fold right here. Once you do that, if you choose not to use a jelly roll, you can cut different width strips of fabric. So you can cut them 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, whatever widths you want, you can cut them. Now, I like to use the Hobbs Heirloom double-sided fusible batting. Now, if you've watched any of my other lessons in that, you'll understand why I love this so much. It's fusible on both sides. It's 80% cotton, 20% polyester, which means I can cut out my pieces and then I can iron it directly onto my backing. So here's my backing piece that I've got done. I've got my batting. And all I've done is with a hot dry iron, I've pressed it. And you can see how it's all stuck nicely. So all you have to do is put the batting down on your ironing surface, put your fabric over the top and press with a hot iron. Then we're ready to go. So there's no pins and we don't even have to use a walking foot. So once we get that done, we're going to start with our strips, and I've just got random strips cut here. Just been through my stash and pulled out whatever was there in my greens. So we're going to make, if you're going to change your colours up like I have here, I'm going to make 3 red wedges and 3 green wedges. So we'll start with the green. We're just going to lay our first piece down, and then we lay the next piece on top, and we're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam. Once we've stitched across here with a 1/4 inch seam, we just fold this one out, press, then we'll lay the next strip on top of that. What colour will we use? We might use this one. Lay this one on top. Now, you may prefer to pin, but if you were going to pin, I would be using, you know, some nice long sharp pins like the flower head pins. Pin this all the way across, stitch with your 1/4 inch seam and flip again. So you're just going to sew and flip, sew and flip. If you don't want to iron as you go along, if you don't have an iron close by, try using the little roll and press tool. It's really fabulous because you can roll this out and press the seam out very, very flat using that little tool. So you could just have your sewing machine set up, have a little bit of table space, use your roll and press, put your next piece down, sew it, flip it over and press once again. So once you get your 6 wedges done like that, we then need to trim them back. So here we've got some made. We've got a green one already made. We're in the process of doing the red, so you can see how we're just sewing and flipping. Now, to trim them back, you would put your pattern piece on top, and with the pattern you get, it will come as just this shape. You may prefer to make a paper pattern that's the whole shape, so you may like to have the extension out here. But if you don't, you could just put this on here. You may want to pin it in place, and then you're just going to trim around your piece, like so. So you get it all nice and neat. So all your wedges end up the same size and they're nice and neat. Now when we join this together, we're going to join it together with one of my Quilters You Go techniques. I'm going to use the between the block technique. So what I've done, if I have cut a strip of fabric 1 inch wide. Now you can have this the same as your backing fabric, or you can have it as a contrast. And what we're going to do is we're going to join it between the blocks. So we're going to put the right side of the backing to the right side of the strip. We will pin that in place and we'll stitch down here with a 1/4 inch seam. Very simple, just 1/4 inch seam. Once you've done that, you'll join the other panel, you'll join another panel to this side. Okay, so when you get that done, you've got your backing strip on the back. It's very neat. And you just, so there's our 1/4 inch seam on each side. So when you press it in, I'll just open this out so you can see, you've got a 1/2 inch gap in the middle with your 1/4 inch seam. And when they come over, they meet exactly. So there's no bulk there, and that's why I love that batting, because it sits really, really flat. Now once we've done that, we're going to make a sashing to go over the top of that. So we've cut a strip of fabric 1 1/4 inch wide. We've cut this, sorry, 2 1/4 inches wide. And we're going to just fold this in and in. Now you can do whatever size sashing you want here. If I did that size, it's going to be much too wide. It will take up a lot of that, but you might like it like that. You might like a nice wide sashing, but I want to do a narrower one. So we've got this sitting nice and neat now, so we're going to put a sashing over the top of this. So I've got a piece of strip fabric cut 1 1/4 inch, and I'm going to put it through the 5/8 of an inch tool. This is the sasher tool that'll fold this fabric for me. So whatever size tool you're going to use, no matter what it is, whatever measurements shows on the top of the tool, you're going to cut the fabric double that measurement. They're so much fun to make. So we'll fold this in, and we'll press the start. We're going to thread it into the tool. Then we anchor that down with a pin. I just need to find my little pin. Oops, got one hid here. We'll anchor this into the ironing surface. And then we just press with the iron. Just push it along. And that will fold your fabric into thirds beautifully for you. So you can do this at your ironing board. I'm just using the inside part of my cutting mat. The outside is actually my ironing surface, but I know this little felt mat works well as for ironing on too, but I don't do a lot of ironing on it. But we just keep going through till we get all of this done. So that's our sashing made. Now we come back to our pieces that we've joined. But depending how big you want to make your wedges, you might have a really big tree and you might want to increase the size of your wedge. So if your wedges are bigger, you probably might want a wider sashing here. So you have to adjust the back sashing. So the back sashing has to be the width of your finish sashing plus your 1/4 inch seams. But if you're doing bigger wedges, before you put the sashing on and before you join it, you might like to put some appliques on here, which we're going to do now. With the lesson, you get the different shape pattern pieces, and I've got some templates here. So we've got a holly leaf and we've got 2 different size stars. So now what I'm going to do is I'll put this aside just for a moment. We're going to come to the sandpaper part of the board. We're going to use our fabric that we're going to do a star out of. Put your template down, and then we use our fabric marking pen Now I'm using the sandpaper so my fabric doesn't stretch. I just find if I use a tabletop, the fabric can stretch a lot as I draw around it. So we're just going to draw our star shape. Then we'll cut that out. And it's very easy to draw, but you can see the fabric's not stretching at all using that sandpaper. And I just think it's a really handy little thing to know, and that's why I love using these workboards. This is a large one. I have a large one and a small one. So it's depending on what I'm doing to what size board I use. So just get your scissors and cut that out. Just simple, you're cutting straight onto the line. Once you get as many shapes cut out as you want, here we've got, by the magic, we've got some cut out ready. You can go around and place these in position. You might want to do some holly leaves and put in position. You might just want to do all stars. You might want to put anything on there. It's entirely up to you. But the way I put these in place is I use the Roxanne glue basted, one of my most favourite tools, and we just put little dots of glue all the way around, just tiny little dots. You don't need a lot. You can use fusible web, but I find that takes a lot of preparation and cutting out, and it can make our project stiff. If I iron it in the wrong place, it's there to stay, but with the glue, if I put it down and I don't like where I put it, I can peel it off. So let's put this star here. Don't go too close to the edges because you're going to have to, this will be another seam here. Then you're going to bind the edges, so you don't want it laying down too far to the edge. Just have fun with your placements, play around with it till you're happy with what you've got happening. You might like to put the tree skirt together completely before you come back and do this. So that's getting a little bit close because my sashing will come right up to the edge. So I can just shift this around, wipe the glue away. And the glue is water soluble, so if you was worried about that leaving a mark on your fabric, just get a wet cloth and damp that off. Heat set the glue, that'll hold it in place. Now to stitch this on, you can use any sort of thread, but we've stitched ours on with a blanket stitch on the machine, and we used a nice variegated thread, which I'll show you in a moment. You might even want to hand stitch this on with a blanket stitch. So however you would like to stitch that on, stitch it down, go through and decorate all your 6 wedges how you would like it to be. You might even want to put some circles in the middle. You might want to do some holly leaves and put on there and use this template, trace your shape of your holly leaf, cut it out and glue it in place. Then you might like to use the circles and put some little berries on. There's lots of options. So now we're ready to put our sashing on. We just lay this down. Just cut it to size. And then once again, we'll use the glue to glue this in place. Just need to press this down a bit flatter. Just get it sitting nice and flat for you. Put some glue right on the stitching line on both sides. And once again, I do glue instead of pinning because I find there's a little bit of bulk there, and trying to pin through and keep the strip nice and even, it just doesn't do it. It all puckers and moves on you. So I just find gluing is the best option for this. It makes it so neat and so easy to do. So put that in place, whoops, and then come back and press it with the hot iron. Don't worry if the glue, a little bit of glue gets on your iron. It doesn't clog up your iron or make a mess. It will wash off with a damp cloth once your iron's a bit cooler. So there's our sashing in place. So now what we do is we go to our machine and we stitch really, really close on the edge, really close down either side. And I find if I don't have a matching thread to match that red, I would put the monopoly clear thread in my machine and stitch down, and you won't see the stitching, it just hides it completely. So that's how we stitched ours down. Now once you do that, you will, you're not going to join number 1 and number 6 wedged together because you need it open to be able to put that around the tree. So we'll just go over some of the finer details of this now. I'll just move some things out and I'll get the tree skirt from around the tree and lay it out here so that you can have a good look at it. And it just is a nice feature. I know you're probably going to cover it all with gifts and everything, but it just looks nice. So here's each of our wedges, as you can see. We haven't joined number 1 and number 6 panel together. We've left that opened. We've cut a bias strip to go around this inner part of the curve. So that will have to be cut on the bias so that it sits around there nicely. Leave a big tail, because once you put that on, you can tie that in a bow. We've put another tie at the end. So we've just put a strip of fabric through the any size sasha, then we folded it in half and stitched it so it is enclosed. Then we've made some button loops just by putting the strips through another size sasha, folding it and stitching it. Then we've covered some buttons to put on. You know, you could do ties all the way down, but I just think the buttons are a nice feature. So in with the pack, you can get these buttons that you can cover yourself. And they've got a little pin on the back, so you don't even have to stitch them on. So you would cut a circle of fabric. As you can see, we've got a little bit of selvage here. It doesn't matter because it's going to be encased. Just put it over the top. Now you will probably be best if you run a gathering stitch around this, but I'm just going to put it in, or we can use the glue, be really lazy, and we can glue this fabric in here. If you haven't got time for hand stitching, or if you don't want a hand stitch, just glue it in. Just gather it all the way around. Just pick my awl up. But it is easier, really much easier to run a gathering stitch around there by hand. This gets a little bit fiddly and a little bit messy to do. So we'll just pull all of this in. Once you get it in there, and I know it's very hard for you to see, but we'll just come back and we'll just fiddle around with it a little bit. Get it all nice and tight. Then we're just going to snap the back into it, just like covering any button. But you can see how much easier it would be if I had taken the time to gather that up. Now we just snap this in place, and there we have our self-covered button. So you can just pin that on. It's just got the little pin. Undo it and pin it in place. Then you can put the little loop around there. And there's your beautiful tree skirt all but done. All you've got to do is put the binding on the edge. So you can tie this around the tree, tie it into a nice bow. And that'll look just gorgeous sitting with your tree in the middle. But as I said, if you want to make your wedges longer, if you've got a much bigger tree, just increase the length. You might want to increase the width this way, but if you go much wider there, you're going to end up with a much bigger circle here. So just do some adjustments to what you would need to suit your tree. But in the instructions that come with this, it'll be for this exact size. But you can see how we've put the holly leaves on with the little berries. We've used a variegated thread. When you look at the back, it's nice and neat at the back. You can see where we've put that spacer strip in, joining the two wedges together. And we've used a contrast fabric on this one. The binding, I've cut the fabric 4 inches wide to do the binding. Just come back to my ironing surface here. So we have a piece of fabric here cut to the width we need. 4 inches, we're going to fold it in half. Just press the start. And I'm going to use the 2-inch wide sasher tool, this one. We're going to thread the fabric through, up and over. We will pin it into the ironing surface. Hold the fabric so it's laying nice and straight, and we just push with the iron. So it just folds your binding in half. So simple for you, and just keep working down till you get it all done. And you don't burn your fingers. That's why we love these tools. And this is the reason why I invented these tools, because I was sick of burning my fingers. And I wanted to be able to do fabric on the bias, on the straight grain, do sashings, do all sorts of things. So that's why that tool was invented, to save myself burning my fingers. Now what we've done with our binding here, we've stitched it on from the wrong side of the tree skirt. So we've put it onto this side. We've stitched it on with a wide seam allowance from the back. We've folded it over to the front. We've then glued it in place. Let's straighten this out. We've glued it in place with the Roxanne glue. We've pressed it so it sits nice and flat, and then we've gone back and we've top stitched it with that mono poly thread in the top and the bobbin. This thread works beautifully in the top and the bobbin of your machine. It's not like our normal clear threads that were around for a lot of years, which were nylon. This one's not. This one doesn't melt. This one doesn't stretch. Just wind it onto your bobbin at a little bit slower speed than what you normally would wind a thread onto your bobbin, and only half fill your bobbin with this thread, because I find it's so fine that if I fill my bobbin up completely, it's just too much thread for the bobbin and the machine to cope with. It does come with this little gauze, I call it a gauze jacket. I find if I put that on there and leave it on there at all times, my thread doesn't come off too fast and get tangled up. So if you've got one of those jackets, it will be in the packet if you buy one from us. It has that jacket on it. Put it on, leave it on there at all times. And it's just a great thread. When we put the appliques on, we used a variegated thread in the top to do our blanket stitch, but we had the mono poly thread in the bobbin, and you don't see all that blanket stitch coming through to the back. It just hides it up beautifully for you. So that's just a fun project to get ready for Christmas. As you can see on our feature wall here, we've got lots and lots and lots of things for Christmas. We've got our woven Santa Claus, where we've used one of our sets of sasher tools, which we call the Weaver set, which is a different set again. We've done some chenilling for his beard. We've done some ruching for his hat. We've got our Christmas placemats, our Christmas table runner. We've got a Christmas stocking. We've got patterns for all of these. And then we've got the gorgeous jelly roll Christmas tree. So this can go on the floor. It can hang on the wall. You get some decorations in the pattern, and then you can buy additional decorations from us to hang on the tree. So we're really in the Christmas spirit. We've got the lovely jelly rolls, the Christmas jelly roll packs. We've got the sasher tools. You may already have a pack of 10, but if you do, you may want to buy some of the other sizes that are not in the pack, because we have 18 different sizes now. So we just want you to have a fun time getting ready for Christmas. No matter what time of the year it is, it's always time to get ready for Christmas, because it comes around so fast and all of a sudden it's upon us and we haven't got all of our little feature things or our gifts made. So keep watching our videos on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to get more videos when we release them. Go to our website, have a great look around so you can see what we have on offer. We have bundles of different things, you know, for different projects that you can bundle up. Some specials there for some bundles, but go to our website, www.pqw.com.au, and we'd love to chat to you. So any questions, please put it up for us in our comment section so that we can answer your questions. Have fun creating, and Merry Christmas. Bye for now.